Guys, my faith in humanity has just been completely restored. This video will change your life. I saw it and I wasn't going to watch it because I thought, oh, three dumb American girls, who wants to listen to what they've got to say about the Netflix documentary? You've got to listen to this. You have got to. The whole thing. So, as we know, the Netflix movie came out. People in America, they don't know about the case. Okay, so it's kind of fascinating listening to them talk about it when all their knowledge is from basically just from the Netflix movie. Okay, and the critical thinking that these three, I think they're sisters, have displayed is amazing, and they would absolutely put Cheshire police to shame. And I can't believe they have um, asked so many relevant questions about the Netflix movie, having knowing nothing else about the case. So I was sort of getting a bit um, upset and tired about the same old silly arguments being brought up by the Netflix documentary, talking about stupid codes and the diary and she was always on shift. And it's isn't it interesting how people the people who seem to think she's guilty are quoting basically misinformation. And why is it that they seem to think that Letby was on shift for all the deaths? That's the main one. You know, she was always on shift um, when she wasn't always on shift. So I'm going to play a couple of little snippets here. Here we go.
Yeah. But okay, so like I was like all on board, like, wow, girl's so guilty. Because you know what got me were those documents. Why
Yeah.
do you have a box of documents? Like,
Okay, so this is where I'm like, I wish they gave us better information because I decided to because I was not satisfied with the doc.
Sorry, I'm just going to pause it there. Maybe I shouldn't have, but um, now when I saw about the box of documents that said keep, I saw it was I knew it was misinformation. I just thought they were. Um, I I didn't think anything of it really. I didn't think that that would make people think that she was guilty or anything. Obviously, how wrong I was, but let's continue.
Documentary. So I went on Google after. Like apparently, in that box there was only 5. They found the documents scattered throughout the house in different places. So they
oh,
and in that box, none of them were related to any of the babies that had died.
She went on Google. Okay, now why is it that Netflix couldn't go on Google and discover that?
Or had collapsed or whatever. So
It's,
it was just like, why do you're misleading your audience? Like that's
yeah.
so
Because they quite literally said that they found like
They found
250 documents.
which
yeah,
they
in
did. I
the
think
box.
it was just
totally.
over 250 that I saw, like 257, but it was scattered throughout the house.
And and more importantly than that, we saw that article by Liz Hull saying about how Letbius are finding it. I'll link that article again. Are finding it difficult to explain the box of. Well, hold on a minute, Liz Hull. You were at the trial. Why is it that when I watched the documentary, I saw it. I knew it was a mistake when this teenage girl who knew nothing about the case, just watched the Netflix documentary, was able to just go on Google and find the correct information. How come Liz Hull couldn't do that and wrote an article about it being a huge thing that the Lucy Letby supporters can't explain? And guys, honestly, listen to this whole thing. What else do they talk about? They talked about how there were different methods, and one of them said, serial killers don't do that. They talked about that, how they never established a motive. I'm going backwards here. Sorry. They talked about, one of them said that the evidence was lacking in her opinion. They talked about Evans. I think they were talking about Evans and how he said, let me find a way that she done it. And they felt that there was no way that he was going to change his mind. And they talked about the graph and the statistics of deaths, and that how they didn't cover it didn't cover the percentages. So they were saying they wanted to know what other hospitals' death figures were like. They wanted to know what the autopsies said. And then they're asking, like, who was the lawyer for this woman? Then they said, like, how did this even get to court? And then they're talking. Oh, they mentioned about the notes as well. One of them said she wanted to like pause it and read everything else in the notes. And they were asking brilliant questions. They were like, we only heard, they only read out a couple of things that were said on the notes. And they're like, well, they were just asking the questions. They didn't know, but they were just asking what was all the other stuff said on the notes. And about the interviews as well, they were saying how come they only played a couple of little clips? Like, they wanted to hear more of the interview. And that's another good point. There were over 23 hours of interviews. Release the tapes. Now, honestly, guys, where did I get to? I didn't think there was enough to say she's guilty in this documentary. They were talking about the chart. And one of them actually said, I feel that if you just took like my shift and did the same thing, they could tell it was a fake already. Honestly, listen to the conversation. And then they were asking, they actually thought that innocent until proven guilty isn't a thing in Europe. I think based on this, I don't know, but they thought that it wasn't a thing. And then, they're talking about Letby emailing the police. Great. Honestly, this have a listen to it. Breath of fresh air, and it's I said I was sort of pleased about the documentary and that it would backfire, and then some of the stuff I saw afterwards, I thought, people are dumber than I thought. But no, these three, I don't know, some of them can only be teenagers, I don't know, and yet they've been asking more pertinent questions and have just generally got the whole gist of what went on and what didn't go on. And even right at the end, they're asking, like, who funded this? Was it like the hospital? Which is, again, brilliant question. Oh, I was so pleased with that. But they were also talking about and it came up in the diary about these codes and asterisks again in the diary, and I couldn't really find anything about that in the trial about codes and asterisks. I know there was some mention about LD, and that it just meant long day. And in the Operation Hummingbird video, they're he was talking about different coloured asterisks, and I was surprised this made it to the documentary when I haven't seen anything about it in the trial. I didn't read about it in the prosecution's statement. I was searching when I eventually learnt how to spell asterisks correctly. I was searching the trial transcripts that I had, and so I'm not quite sure what's going on now. I'd like a little bit more information on how many of these babies had an asterisk next to it, like they said on the Netflix documentary. But yeah, so pleased I had a listen to that, and maybe Cheshire Police should widen their recruitment from detectives to, rather than bald 40-year-old men, maybe their demographic should be teenage sisters in America.